welcome into CBS Sports HQ on your Friday, presented by Verbo. Amanda Garrett, Jeremy St. Louis with you here. Jeremy, it is the first weekend of fall. Do you know that this is called a jewel tone?
A jewel tone?
We're going to get your tie on board. That's still very summery, but it's okay.
It's very summery.
So this is my plan. Week 4 college football, I'm going to go buy my first pumpkins, and I'm going to sit at home all weekend and pretend like it's cold outside.
Pumpkin spice lattes have been out for weeks. Have you not?
I said pumpkin.
Oh,
a
pumpkins.
pumpkin.
Okay. All right.
The actual plant, vegetable,
I saw what you put on,
vegetable, don't know what it's called.
I saw what you put on social media yesterday, the pumpkin head just in black. Yes, she's all about the fall. And we are all about the 3 ranked games in the top 25 this weekend in college football. Week 4, always the potential for some big upsets. BMAC said Maryland over Michigan yesterday in Ann Arbor. Before we get into more picks, we do have a weekend preview for you.
For the past several years in college football, the Heisman Trophy winners weren't players favored to win the award going into the season. But at least so far, Vegas had 3 players clearly above the rest of the field, which is still the case heading into Week 4. The favorite is still C.J. Stroud, who is putting up big numbers as the Buckeyes head into conference play at the Shoe against Wisconsin.
It's going to take more because now we go into Big Ten play, and we just got to be more and more focused and stick together and just keep rolling, which is good momentum.
Just behind Stroud in the sports books is Caleb Williams, who has been as advertised with the new look Trojans alongside new head coach Lincoln Riley. Williams and fellow transfer Jordan Addison have formed a lethal 1-2 punch thus far, but will get an early season test in Corvallis against undefeated Oregon State.
We got to be consistent. We got to worry about the little things because those go a long way. Ready for a mistake.
Bryce Young is attempting to become the first back-to-back Heisman winner in nearly half a century, but is off to a slower start than last season while still trying to get on the same page with his current playmakers. It's something they'll want to get squared away in Week 4 against an improved Vanderbilt team before the level of competition starts to rise.
We know it's going to take everything from us, so it's on us to make sure that we're the most prepared we can be, put ourselves in the best circumstance for preparation this week, and try to execute to the best of our ability.
Will it continue to be a 3-horse race for the most illustrious award in college football, or is there a dark horse contender that will jump into the conversation? With no overwhelming favorite, this is a debate that is likely just heating up.
Certainly impacts on the Heisman race. Week 4 has some college football fantastic matchups. Jon Berger is here to help us make some money on those matchups. Jon, when we spoke on Thursday, you said college football was where you were enjoying the most success so far this overall football season. What's been working for you as we take a look at how you did last week?
Yeah, it was a little bumpy last week. One of the things that I learned last week, Jerry, here's what you don't do. I tried to squeeze 6 winning bets out of 2 games. So I'm going to tap the brakes on that strategy. I just wanted to see what happened, see if I could pull that out. That's not a great idea. But we're in a good shape. We're going to get into conference play here soon. You're starting to get a better understanding of what these teams are, what they look like, what they're all about. But we're in a good situation. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I think that's going to be a great matchup in Columbus, a game that I'm going to have an opportunity to go see in person with some very close friends. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to go pumpkin shopping. But I am going to go to the game in Columbus, though. So I appreciate what y'all's plans are, though.
Well, and Jon, hitting 60%, that's a pretty good return so far. Let's start with home field presented by Verbo. For that, we go to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. I mean, this is going to be incredible for this SEC on CBS Game of the Week. Florida, Tennessee, Volunteers favored by 10.5. The total at 62 and a hook. Jon, how much is home field going to come into play against Florida here?
I've kind of gone back and forth on this one. I really think when you look at this number right here, I'm going to go ahead and take Florida plus 10. I realize that Tennessee's a much improved team. This is an opportunity for Florida to really make a statement, though. It's, they got off to that great start against Utah, and then they really kind of fell apart offensively in the second and third game. So now we sit here right now. And I think this is all about turnovers. This team has been crushed by not only the number of turnovers, but the timing of it. And the timing's almost worse, right? So in some key situations, you just can't get that done. So I think this is a situation where that's a lot of points. And I went back and forth on this one. But I do like Florida in this situation because you're getting 10 points, and I think that's a better bet as we sit here today.
Gators 11-6 against the spread in their past 17 meetings with Tennessee, of which they have won 16. All right, another good one Saturday night at Jerry World in Arlington. Texas A&M hosting Arkansas in their annual clash. The Razorbacks with a chance to start 4-0 in consecutive seasons for the first time since 1988 and 1989. Aggies favored by a couple here, John.
Well, the Aggies were kind of tight last week, weren't they? We talked. That was kind of a must-win situation, Jerry. We talked about it at length. That program could have spun sideways very easy, but they got the win and they gritted that one out. This particular game, you got to understand kind of the history between A&M and Arkansas. These teams don't like each other, and you've got to understand kind of the atmosphere in Jerry World. This is not a home game for either team, although A&M is obviously right down the road. But this game can get really chippy, and a lot of times this game is a tight score. So in this situation, after I took all that into consideration, I mean, Arkansas, I'm kind of impressed with these guys sitting at 3-0, beat Cincy, quality win, beat South Carolina, quality win. I'm still not convinced we know what A&M is offensively. We're going to find out a lot against Arkansas because Arkansas up front at the point of attack and move some people around defensively. But I think when you look all this, you look at the spread, I'm thinking this is probably a 3 or 4 point game. I just don't know which way it's going to go. So I'm going to take the under on that. I think that under I picked up yesterday, maybe the day before at 48.5. But I think that's the safer play because I do think both defenses are going to play very well early in that game until the offenses are forced to open it up. I don't really know what you're going to get with A&M. They looked a lot better last week making the quarterback change, but I think the under is the smart play here.
Yeah, staying away from that number. Jimbo Fisher 0-4 against the spread versus Arkansas as the Aggies head coach. A good play,
weird
John.
Game. It's a weird, you can't really put your hand on it. Like every time you think you know what these teams are like, when they go into Jerry World, it's just that particular matchup. I've said for the last couple of years, it's safer to do the over and under because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about Jimbo being 0-4 against the spread, but he's won 3 of 4 games. So I mean, you're kind of playing with house money at certain points in terms of getting the wins for Jimbo. All right, top 5 Clemson go to Wake Forest as 7-point favorites. The Tigers going for their 70th win in the history of this series. John, they've never lost to the Demon Deacons with Dabo as head coach. The total here 55 and a hook. Do you like that, or are you going after this line?
No, I'm gonna take Clemson to cover this, and I get all the reasons why people are going the other direction. At some point in time, Clemson's going to get this thing figured out offensively, right? This is not a team right now that is scaring most people on the offensive side of the ball. But I look at Wake in this situation, and in terms of their offensive and defensive line, if Clemson shows up with an attitude, up front at the point of attack on both sides of the football, Clemson can push them around a little bit. So, the other thing that you'll notice is like Wake runs kind of that awkward zone read package where they hold the ball a long time to try to create a run pass option. It's actually pretty cool. If you've never seen it, watch the game or at least watch the first half, even if you're not interested, because it's kind of a unique offense. I mean, they hold that mesh point a long time to see what the defender's going to do, especially the high safety, to see if they're going to give the ball off. But anyway, I just think this number, I looked at the over-under in this situation. I just think Clemson at some point in time is going to be able to step on the gas offensively. I think you'll start to see that. I'm going to take Clemson to cover this number.
Last time Wake beat Clemson was in 2008. Tommy Bowden was fired after that game, and who took over as the interim? Jimbo Fisher. All right, Notre Dame Dabo Swinney, pardon me. Notre Dame go to Chapel Hill to face North Carolina. Interesting point swing here, John. It started with the Irish as 1-point favorites. Now they are 1.5-point dogs. They've won 20 of the 22 meetings in the series. Do you like the plus money here?
Taking the over, just be smart here.
Okay.
North Carolina historically, because I've kind of gone back and forth when that line started moving and tried to figure out, what's going on here. North Carolina over the last 3 years is 12-2 straight up at home. So this is a team that historically has really defended their home field. The other thing that I look at, though, when you look at that loss that Notre Dame took on the chin by Marshall, that's a little weird. I thought they played very well in Columbus at Ohio State. I mean, that was the game that you and I took the under on and won that bet because they did show up defensively. So I don't think either team you really know who's going to show up. What I do know is that defensively, I think these offenses can score on these defenses, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think you could see almost like a shootout in the third and fourth quarter. Both teams have skill on the perimeter. Both teams can push the ball downfield. Both teams got a solid ground attack. I think you're going to see that on display. But I just think in this situation, I don't like that number going back and forth. It's too squishy for me, but I do like the ability to hit that over, and that's where I'm going here.
Irish 4-1 straight up and against the spread in the last 5 meetings. All right. Lastly, Tulsa taking on 16 Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's team 21.5-point favorites. This total a healthy 65.5. With those numbers, you're probably wondering, okay, why are we talking up this game? Well, Tulsa has history here, don't they, John?
Yeah, they do. And if you don't kind of follow Tulsa, Tulsa's one of those teams every single year they get in a game like this and they end up winning it. This is kind of a blue-collar mentality type of football team. They've got good athletes on both sides of the football. They kind of fly under the radar there, but this is a huge number, Jeremy. I mean, this is a huge number. I mean, you look at Ole Miss; they're 8-1 straight up in non-conference play under Kiffin, so they've been remarkably consistent. But Davis Brin, the quarterback in this offense for Tulsa, they're putting up over 500 yards. They're averaging over 500 yards in offense right now. So it is dynamic. They've got a good offensive line. This kid can throw the football. I haven't seen a lot of tosses or a lot of passes that he can't make on a field. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. Is Ole Miss win the game? Yeah, they're going to show up and win the game. But at 21.5, I just say no way. I'm going to take Tulsa in the points as they go up against Ole Miss. I think that's the safer bet.
And the interesting part, I mean, this is the first meeting between the two in 58 years. Ole Miss has only ever scored 7 points against Tulsa. They've been outscored 87-7, a shutout in 2 of the previous 3 meetings. Lots of great history to watch here. He is CBS Sports HQ wagering analyst Jon Berger, giving us a sampling of his college football plays this weekend. Of course, we'll have more throughout the weekend. Let's recap Jon's picks, though. Take Florida and the points at Neyland against the Volunteers. That is going to be a great one. That's our game of the week from the SEC on CBS. Go under the 48.5 as Texas welcome Arkansas. John likes Clemson in that 7 on the road at Wake Forest. He also likes the Irish to cover the 1.5 at UNC. And don't sleep on Tulsa. John likes them to cover the 21.5 versus Ole Miss.
Week 3 of the NFL, what is going on? Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.